Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Tea and Overtones. And today we're going to brew a cup of oolong tea, Lishan winter sprout. It comes from Taiwan and we're going to brew it in these gaiwans. A lot of people ask what a gaiwan is. We featured this very early on in the series, and the gaiwan is a cup, and one brews the tea in the cup as you'll see me do, and then we put it into a holding cup, and then we pour it into the teacups. This is one gaiwan, and this is another one. This one's a little bit more decorative. They both hold about the same amount of water, and they just a little bit different designs. So you get to see both of those. But today I want to feature a gaiwan that I'm going to be using in the tea and chocolate and meditation. We call it SpiritualiTEA fundraiser that I'm going to be doing in July. And I just wanted to share this with you because it's so interesting. We're going to be sending everyone who registers one of these traveling gaiwan sets. And you can see we just open it up. It is actually made of porcelain. It's a beautiful kind of carrying bag here, and it has its own little linen cloth to protect it, but also to be able to set the tea on top of it like this. Although I'm not going to use that today, I've just got this. So you can see that it just comes very compact. And what's interesting, as we take it apart, you'll see that it kind of reveals a few areas. Number one, we've noticed that there's 3 teacups, and teacups are very important. And so we can just display those there of varying sizes. And then if we lift this off, we find that here's the gaiwan and here's the holding cup. The holding cup is where we pour the tea into. So that's the gaiwan, not quite as big as these other ones. Just to compare the sizes, get a relative view there. And just a little bit, about an ounce less water. But nonetheless, you can see that it provides everybody with a charming tea set and just the full area where you can have these lovely teacups. And as I said, it's a very, very fine porcelain, so it really makes it a pleasure. And as we always say, that's really a big part of preparing tea, is just this pleasurable experience. One in which we come into harmony. And I want to tell you my favorite Taoist tale about that, about a Taoist master who was asked by a village to please come and help them out. They had not had any rain for a long time, and it was really getting to be pretty desperate. They tried everything, all the usual tricks and what they knew to do, but had no luck whatsoever. And so as a last resort, they asked this this Tao master, obsessed with tea, maybe he was a tea master, this Taoist master to please join them. And the Taoist master agreed. And he came to the village and he just asked for one thing. He said, I'd like to have a small hut on the outside, on the outskirts of the village, and with a garden that I can tend. And so he tended the garden, and he tended it for one day. He didn't ask anything of the villagers whatsoever. And second day, nothing was going on. Third day, he was there. The fourth day, it poured with rain. Of course, the villagers were delighted. I mean, you can imagine. And they asked him his secret. What did he do? And he didn't, during that period of time, nobody noticed he did any rituals or anything really special. So they were particularly intrigued by what this Taoist master did. And we'll find out what he did, but let's get on with this tea. This Lishan winter sprout, we're going to be using in the Tea and Chocolate and Meditation, or the SpiritualiTEA fundraiser. We're going to be using a winter sprout as well. Not this particular one. This one is out of season and it's no longer available. I mean, when you get these artisan teas, they just have sometimes a short lifespan and they don't come back. So this is the very end of my Lishan winter sprout. I'm going to use a teaspoonful, and let me show you this a little bit here. I don't know if I'll be successful. Someone said I wasn't doing a good job of showing the teas. So just trying to put it against a white background. And if you can see, goodness, just the tiniest buds really. And oh, you can see there. Some of them are a little bit bigger than others. There you go, that's a bit bigger bud, but quite tiny. And as we'll see, they'll just open up. And this is one of the thrills of tea. I featured Peak tea, which I'm still a big fan of. These are tea crystals. But I mean, it's not the dimensional experience this is. So if you need a good cup of tea and you want it, it's pure, Peak tea is great. And sometimes I don't have time to brew. So it's very useful. I'm just drinking tea all day, by the way. So I've become quite fanatical about all of this. So teaspoonful is probably about 2 grams or so in here. And we pour it in there. And with oolongs, you want it pretty hot, not boiling, but you know, the thing about boiling is that if you boil it, then the oxygen goes out of the water. So everybody wants to kind of have it very hot, but not to boiling point, because you don't want to lose the oxygen flavor that comes. So we pour the water in. As you can see, not too much, because it's not very big. And we wait there a few moments, and we can do anything from 10 seconds to 20 seconds to 30 seconds. It really depends. 1 minute. In the Gaiwan way of doing things, you don't really need to take too long over it. We then put the lid on, so we'll let it steep a little bit, and then we want to pick it up. We want to pick it up by the edges, because otherwise, if I touch this is boiling hot, too hot. I mean, it would burn my hands. But here, it's completely fine. And then I want to have the cup there. So I'm at the bottom of the cup, and it's a little hot at the bottom, but not burning hot. If I wanted to really be sensitive about it, I could just put this at the bottom, for example. I could use my linen cloth, and this way I'm not getting any problems whatsoever. So I've got this, and now I'm going to pour this into the holding cup. I've got the lid on, and there's enough space for the tea to come out. Just drain that off. Place the cup there for the moment. This came in handy. So yes, I've got the leaves off, and already you can see the leaves are beginning to unfurl. That didn't take long at all. And I can just show you. This is just endlessly fascinating. I'm always showing my wife, I'm so blown away. So that was just one of those buds. Let me see if I can highlight that for you. Here you go. Hopefully you can see. That was just one of those buds that's unfurled into this unbelievably large leaf. And I'm so always fascinated by that. I mean, how did that happen? I mean, it's like magic, like origami or something. So very thrilled about that. I'll wait for that to cool a little bit. In the holding cup, then I just pour the teacups. Of course, it's just me, so I just use the middle one here. Pour that. Again, take this, quite delicate. Very, very nice. Oh, it's really gorgeous, buttery, floral feeling, floral buttery taste. I think that would be a very good way to describe it. Beautiful aroma. I should have really done this first, but just to really take in the aroma. Again, tremendous skill to make this tea. I mean, tremendous skill to get it right. There's so many factors that can go wrong, and we just take it for granted. And part of what has blossomed with tea is people are dealing directly with the farmers now. And of course, tea that's mass produced doesn't quite have that amount of skill. So again, there's a kind of a slurping to kind of aerate the flavor. Now I had a very brief steep there. I probably can get about 10 steeps out of this little bowl here. I'll do another one in a moment. So what did this Taoist master do? Well, he explained to the villagers. He said, well, you know, when I came to the village, he said I sensed that I was out of harmony with myself. There was a disharmony within me. And so the first day, I noticed that as I tended the garden, I felt a little bit better. And the second day, even better. Just started to come more into myself. And the third day of tending the garden, at the end of that third day, I'd felt that I'd come back into myself. And on the fourth day, it rained. This is an amazing story, if you really think about it, because maybe it's not about rain. Maybe it's just about our ability to manifest. John Roger would talk about precipitation when in the early days, he didn't talk about manifestation as much, but precipitation. Precipitation was the ability to bring from down, really, something into the material world. I mean, rain or hail and those kind of things are precipitation. So it's kind of interesting that rain is used here. And if we're going to manifest something in this world, if we're really wanting something and we're finding that we're not getting it, maybe we need to tend to our garden. And that garden could be what's inside of us, pruning away what we don't need, maybe some negative narratives that we've carried with us for a long, long time, maybe since we were a kid. Maybe it's just some beliefs that we've bought, somebody else's ideas. And that as we begin to come back into ourselves, into the trueness of who we are, one day it rains. It's interesting that a person that's used to generate business and contacts is often called a rainmaker in business. Maybe they had heard that story. So I've still got plenty of tea in this holding cup, even though it didn't look like it was too much. That oh, it's really, really good. I want to just brew one more cup because I'd love to see those leaves blossom. And each steep has its own flavor. Now, the first steep, the leaves had to open up. Now the leaves are really fully exposed or almost fully exposed. Then that's going to yield a different kind of flavor. So it's always kind of this exciting moment. And it's that kind of exciting moment that I want you to begin to get familiar with. I don't know if you have a cup of tea with me as you watch this. I mean, that would be ideal, that we'd be sharing a cup of tea as we're listening and talking together. The tea and chocolate and meditation is a 3-hour event, and we'll give you some links or send you some promos on it. It's a maximum of 10 people, and we'll be tasting 3 very, very special quality artisanal teas, but also we'll be tasting 3 very, very high quality chocolate bars. So that would be part of it as well, and seeing if we can, the tastes, see if they help each other or if they detract from each other. We're going to be have a couple of oolong teas, very different, one like this and another one very different. Oolongs are very varied, but they have a dimension that green teas don't have. So it takes a little bit of an acquired taste. I mean, at first I was into green teas, and then I've started to get into oolongs, and there's so much dimension to all of this. So now I'm pouring that. With a little skill, I could have emptied more and shifted the lid a little bit, but just don't need to. It's quite happy to have it just come out like that, leak out. Again, just putting this down. Very handy. I actually overfilled the cup a little bit so a little leaked out, but it's nice to have my lidding thing, my lidding cloth. And again, just boring everybody, certainly for my wife, this fantastic leaf that came out of that little pellet, really. I mean, those little there, look at that size of that, and it's still unfolding, so that has a little bit more to go. With each steep, it kind of comes out. So I'll enjoy that. It looks a little bit stronger, so I'll try it in another cup. Nice green buttery flavor. Of course, today we're not using the glass pot, so we're not quite seeing the color, but it's a beautiful, beautiful buttery look to it, green buttery look. Really. It's good also, I mean, it's one thing to taste the tea, and then it's another thing to let it settle, and then to taste the aftertaste. That's really one of the thrills of doing this. So, this Taoist story, I mean, we have to come into harmony with ourselves, and that is why I'm just stressing this tea. I've discovered tea as this marvelous entry point into harmony, that we're taking time for ourselves to appreciate an artisan's work. Again, I'm into making sure we have the right ceramics, the right atmosphere, a plant, all these things that we're really appreciating a good piece of tea. And you know, if we have a little dessert and a nice chocolate bar, I mean, in the past I would have completely eaten any chocolate bar. I eat the whole thing. I mean, just very little discipline. But as I'm beginning to appreciate the artistry of things, then now I can just have just a couple of squares of chocolate, small squares, and that would be satisfying enough to really appreciate. So we're learning to appreciate and learning to take our time over things, to slow down a little bit and come into harmony with ourselves. And when we come into harmony with ourselves, when we tend to our garden, and when we come back into who we are, who knows what can manifest in our lives? Who knows what we seed, really, in another dimension due to our resonance that then produces what we want for our highest good. Until the next time, Berush Beishan.